Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Mercury Retrograde palette from Huda Beauty. This retails for $88 Canadian on the Sephora website, and for that you receive 18 shadows. As usual, I'm going to start with the outside of the packaging and then work our way in. We'll do some swatches. I have an eye demo, not for this look, although I can quickly walk you through it, and then we'll wrap it up. So that is the order of business. Let's get down to it. Here is the packaging. There's a picture of Huda herself and then some sort of celestial orb in front of her. It looks moon-like to me. However, this is the Mercury retrograde, so perhaps it's Mercury? I don't know, a little confused on the finer details, but at any rate, there it is. I'm not wild on the outer packaging. I'm really not. Like, it's all very much like, here's the face. I think there could have been some more play with the theme of the palette, but regardless, there is the packaging. On the back, there's just additional information about the palette itself. It is made in Italy, and let me see here, it has a 24-month shelf life. I can guarantee I'm not going to get through a palette in 24 months, but that is the recommended shelf life for this one. As you can see, the packaging is this hard plastic. I both like and dislike that. I like that because it's very sturdy. I like how compact it is. I like that it's sort of like a purpley plastic. It doesn't look cheap at all, if I can say that. But what I don't like is that it doesn't flip all the way back. So it opens right up, which is nice. Sometimes when you get palettes that get stuck like this, it can be a little annoying. And having said that, does the mirror stay up? Yes, it does. So, well, if it's on a vertical, it'll stay up. If you need it angled for any reason, you're gonna have to put something behind it to hold it up because it's either down or up. Those are your two options. I like when palettes fold all the way back just because I can hold them in my hand very easily and just have it almost like an artist palette. This isn't like overly cumbersome. I just kind of hold it like a book and I can work with it that way. Because the plastic is so thin and the palette isn't overly bulky or heavy to begin with, it is quite easy to use. As well, as you can see, there is a mirror that runs the entire length of the palette included. So then let's talk about the shadows that are included. So as I said, there are 18 in there. There are 9 mattes, 6 metallics, 1 glitter, and 2 sheer multi-reflective shadows. At least that's how they're described. So we'll go through it here. You can see the mattes. You know what? Because every time I hold it up, it messes with my lighting because it's a reflective palette, I'm not going to walk through the shades in the pan. I will show you swatches and I'll group them together in terms of those categories, but I'll hold it back here so it doesn't make the camera angry. And you can see that overall it is a very pastel inspired kind of color story going on there. You've got the mint, you've got some like berry tones, you have some neutrals. There is a mix of warm and cool tones in here, which I quite appreciate. And there are some shades for deepening up over here, and in particular this one in the corner. I have mentioned in a previous video that I do appreciate that this shade is a dark purple and not a black, because black would just be altogether too harsh with what else is going on in the palette. So from that perspective, I think they've made some very good color options in here. And as well, I think with that mix of cool and warm and the mix of finishes, you have a ton of variety available to you in this palette. Now, there are some tweaks that, for me personally, I would make just to add a little bit more diversity. So there are just these 2 deeper shades over here, and really truly this is the only like deep shade. I think with the rest of the colors that are going on in here, a deep brown and even a deeper blue, verging on navy but maybe a hair below that, I think those would have been good additions for in here. There are there's some redundancy in the shades, nothing completely duping each other. That would just be ludicrous to include in a palette at the same time, but there are some that are similar enough that I don't think they really all needed to be included in here. So for example, there's 3 on my fingers there, if the camera will focus. There we go. So I mean, you can see that they are different from each other. I couldn't say that they're like completely redundant shades, but they are similar enough, in particular these 2 here, that if one of them had been replaced with another deeper matte option, I don't think you would have noticed you wouldn't have felt like one of these shades was missing if you had the other 2, or if you only had one even, you still wouldn't really necessarily miss the other 2. So I would have switched out at least one of those to include a deep brown. I think would be the most universal, but when you're looking at these shades up in this top corner up here, a really deep blue would have made those ones stand out even more. So those are my thoughts on the color selection. Overall, I am quite happy with it. There's some good transitional shades in there, and they all can be paired with each other. Like the cools and the warms aren't like so drastically opposed from each other that they look weird paired together. So I do like that. Before we get into the swatches and the eye demo, I'll just talk you really quickly through what I have on my eyes right now. So I started off with the shade Crash, which is this one right here. It is a little bit more on the cooler side of things. And then I deepened up the crease a bit with this shade down here, which is called Karma. And that one is a little bit warmer. And like I said, they kind of paired together. Like they weren't really clashing with each other or anything like that. I then used this shade right here, which is called Nebula. So this one was looking a little bit sheer even when I applied it with a finger. So I then went into this shade right here with a brush and just patted that on top. And that is the shade Mercury. Along my lower lash line, I have this mint shade here called Haze, and then I have Supermoon right here on the inner corner as a highlight. So overall, a very easy look to achieve, but I think it's very pretty on the eyes. As well, the lashes that I'm wearing are also from Huda Beauty, and they are the Camille lashes, number 16 from the Easy collection, the Easy Lash collection. My son is waking up from his nap. So let's get into the swatches and then we'll move on into the eye demo. Here we go. All right, we'll start from my elbow and work towards my wrist. And so the first shade there is Karma, and then Hot Mess, followed by Vortex, that dark purple, Momentum, and then Crash. Libra is a very light purple, which I'm impressed with the pigmentation on it. Off Balance is that pretty rosy kind of pink. Haze is that beautiful mint color there. And then the last one is Utopia. What I can say about the mattes are that they are very creamy. They don't kick up a ton of powder in the pan, and they just blend so easily. Even that really dark purple, I had no issues working with it when I applied it to my eyes. Haze is beautiful. I've had issues in the past with mint greens where you try to apply them, they look beautiful in the pan, but they're almost chalky once they're applied with a brush. That's not the case with this one, and same with that light purple shade. You'll see in the demo that I did apply that one sort of all over the lid, and then I topped it with another shade, but I was really impressed with just how much pigmentation was in that shade, because again, oftentimes with pastels, they kind of just blend away into nothing, or they're rather dusty, and that's not the case with this palette. So now let's move on to the metallic shades, and there are 6 of those ones. Again, we'll start over here and work our way towards the wrist. So the first one is Frazzled, followed by Supernova. The next one is Galaxy, which is beautiful. And then Mercury, that turquoise shade, Ultraviolet, and then the last one is called Cosmic. And you can see just in me moving my arm just how reflective and metallic those shades really are. They're incredibly smooth and creamy as well. And although you can see little bits of micro glitter in there, they're not glittery per se. So they don't end up creating a ton of glitter fallout on your cheeks. They're not chunky at all, and there's nothing rough about them. Even when you just run your finger around the pan, they feel creamy as well. So they're really, really beautiful shades. And I really, in particular, love this shade here and Mercury over here. And Cosmic right there. I kind of love them all. They're shiny, ergo I love them. Okay, and these are the last two categories here. So this is the glitter in the shade Nebula. And then these two, they don't really have a name. The website just describes them as a multi-reflective shadow. This almost whitish looking one is Supermoon, and this one beside it is Gold Glitch. Now, because I've gained some new followers recently, and because I haven't mentioned this in a palette review for a while, I just want to let the newbies know that when I do swatches, I don't prime my arm. I run my finger around the pan 3-4 times, and it's usually one swipe down. With mattes, I will kind of swipe down and up just to even the pigmentation out, but there is no primer going on underneath any of these swatches. And so bringing that to your attention, like this glitter, it stands on its own. Like, it's not falling off, it's not patchy. When I run my finger in the pan, it doesn't feel as though it's like suspended in that gel that say you find in the Tati Beauty palette. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes my concern is that it's going to dry out before I get like real use out of the palette. It is definitely rougher in texture. Sorry, my husband's coughing outside the door. It is definitely rougher in texture than the metallic shades, but that's not to say that it's grainy or gritty or anything like that. It's certainly not uncomfortable on the lids. It just, you can feel that glitter a little bit more. But once I've picked it up on my finger and I run it between my two fingers, even pressing hard, I can't feel any texture whatsoever. So it's a very, very finely milled glitter, and there's nothing chunky about it. These other two shades, these multi-reflective shades, they're beautiful. Once they're swatched, they look very reminiscent of the metallic shadows, but in the pan, I mean, you might not be able to tell now that I've kind of monkeyed them around a bit, but in the pan they have like little specks of different colors running throughout them, so they look a little bit mottled, but once you've used them a bit, that effect kind of goes and certainly doesn't translate onto the eyes anyways. Okay, so those are the swatches. I don't have any complaints about the texture of these shadows. I haven't come across any that are duds in the palette or just underperform compared to the rest of them. I haven't come across any of that. Like I said, my tweaks, if it were up to me, would be the packaging, just simply because for personal preference, I like it to flip backwards. And I'm not like super wild on the picture, but it's not like offensive to me. It doesn't bother me. And then just the inclusion of a couple more deeper shades at the cost of one or two of these shades down here. Minor complaints, minor tweaks. I think that the shades in particular could have just expanded the diversity of the palette just that much further. But having said that, I don't have any regrets about buying this palette. So even at a rather hefty price tag, I really don't have regrets with it. So, okay, now it's time to get on to the eye demo. Here we go.
You call me a saint, but you know I'm a stranger, all willing and able to do what you want. You think I'm a thinker, but I'm just a singer, all busy and pretty, just making believe. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling down to obscurity. Don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. I control, you don't know, babe. I'm a danger to myself. You look worried, and maybe you should be, 'cause this is a warning that I'm throwing out. 'Cause I'm the worst player that ever will play you, to mix up sweet words with the girl's sanity. Boy, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling down to obscurity. Don't let me ever be this alone. I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Oh, you don't know me, I'm a danger to myself. Oh, you don't know me, I am fading unfelt.
Alright, and there you have it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. I have made my thoughts known. I really do enjoy using this palette, and I think that I am going to get a lot of wear out of it. As much as when I initially saw it posted on Trendmood, I thought that it would look more appropriate for a springtime release. Now that I'm using it, there are a lot of berry tones in there and a lot of richer colors that translate well for winter wear. Even this look, maybe with the exception of the mint under my eyes, but certainly the glitter on top, I think would look really nice during this fall-winter season. We've got like a foot of snow on the ground, so I think I have to call it winter at this point, even though it's only mid-November. But anyways, there we have it. All right, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.